The deadline has come and gone for employees at hospitals across the Treasure Valley to follow the vaccine protocols put in place by the major health systems here in Idaho. Basically, get the COVID vaccine or get another job. And we're going to get to those numbers in a minute. But Larry in Star sent us an interesting question this morning. He said, so I'm hearing the local nurses are let go if they don't get, as he says, the jab, but traveling nurses who are under a different contract aren't required to get the COVID shot, and they're being hired for more money than the people that were let go. Well, Katya Stepovic did some digging into this to find out if this is true, and, well, Katya, what'd you find out?
Brian, I reached out to St. Luke's, St. Alphonsus, West Valley Medical Center, and Salzer Health to see what their requirements are when it comes to these traveling nurses. We'll start with St. Luke's. Take a look at this. They say contractors are required to comply with our policies. Their staff are required to be vaccinated, or they can request a medical exemption or religious accommodation through their employer. Employers of contracted staff must be able to provide proof of compliance with policy or an approved exemption/accommodation as required upon request. Now, you may remember that the vaccine requirement was paused when Idaho was under crisis standards of care back on September 17th. Well, St. Luke's re-implemented it at the end of November with a deadline for employees to be fully vaccinated by December 3rd. Now, a total of 17,000 employees and providers have been vaccinated at Luke's. Only 0.04% chose not to comply with the requirement, and as a result, they were let go. All right, now let's move on to St. Alphonsus. They say in part in July, when we announced that the vaccine requirement, we stated that colleagues, volunteers, vendors, and contractors who do business inside St. Al's facilities are to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, this includes travel nurses, they say, and other traveling healthcare providers. So while there may be cases where travel nurses are able to work without being fully vaccinated, they say that is just not the case at St. Alphonsus. St. Alphonsus says they have 100% compliance rate among employees and providers. That is right now. But when I asked how many employees were let go for not complying to their deadline back in December, they said they're not sharing that kind of information. And I did hear back from West Valley Medical Center, and I think this is something to point out that not a lot of people know about. The staff at West Valley Medical are actually not required to be fully vaccinated. They say, quote, when the CMS took action in late 2021 to mandate vaccination in healthcare settings, we began working to implement a process to comply with that requirement. But before that requirement took effect, federal court decisions resulted in the CMS mandate being put on hold indefinitely. As such, we have paused our vaccine requirement. Now, that's a different requirement than Biden has for the over 100 or more employers to be fully vaccinated. So the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid did suspend their vaccine mandate for healthcare workers back on December 6th, following court orders to pause the rule from the Biden administration. However, they say a majority of employees have been vaccinated, so that is some good news. And no word back yet from Salzer Health. Brian.
So this is something we heard a lot about, even when this implementation was first put out there, that we're going to see a lot of people being let go or fired from these health systems. Just doesn't seem to be the case, right?
No, it sounds like a really small percentage actually didn't comply. I think a lot of healthcare workers, they were among the first to be fully vaccinated and kind of got right to it. So it sounds like there's a very small percentage across the board who actually had to be let go.
And it's nice to put an end to this rumor where these contractors are swooping in, not having to be vaccinated, taking jobs away from. So good.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Katya.